Hi everybody, my name is Rebecca. Let's talk about makeup. Okay, so today I'm doing my February update for Deck of Panning, which I'm actually pretty excited about. I think it's going to be a lot easier to do this the second time. I was a little overwhelmed the first time. We made it through, but I think this video is going to be a little bit easier to edit than the last one was. So first I'm going to talk about what I pulled last time and how I did, and then we're going to draw some new cards. So when I did my intro for this project, I ended up with 6 products because I drew the Ace of Hearts, I think it was. The Ace of Hearts, which is pickup 2. So I ended up with 6 products. And the first that we're going to talk about is this Huda Beauty liquid eyeshadow. It's called her Matte Metal. It's came in a little trio. It's a little mini. This one is in the shade Cinnamon Toast. It is very warm, which is one of the reasons why I had not gotten a whole lot of use on it, since I got it in a set of two other colors. I got a set of cool pinks and warm browns, and this is, I think, the one that got the least use. Now it's probably the opposite. I've probably gotten the most use out of it. I used it. I was supposed to use it 9 times. I rolled it in for 9 uses, and I actually used it 10 times. I had a little bit of trouble getting my uses on this, and that's because it is so warm. And I primarily use these Huda Beauty liquid shadows as base colors for eyeshadow looks. And I really like how they perform that way, but I don't do a whole lot of really warm-toned eyeshadow looks. So I was struggling to get my uses in on this until I figured out another way to use it, which was to use it not really as a bronzer. It's a little bit warm and red to be a bronzer on me, and a little deep. But it kind of ended up being a really nice sort of bronzy reddish blush on me, and I'm wearing it today. I actually quite enjoyed it like that. It's not the ideal formula for that particular usage because this stuff sets down fast, and I had to be ready with that brush. I had to do one cheek at a time, and I had to be ready with that brush to blend it out immediately. But I did get it to look quite nice on the occasions that I used it in that manner. So that was really fun. It was fun finding a new way to use a product I was kind of struggling with, because to be perfectly honest, had I not put it in this project, I probably wouldn't have. I might have used it 1 or 2 other times and then eventually had to toss it because it dried up. So that was cool. Next product was my Natasha Denona My Dream Cheek Trio. Oh, also this one I brought in this was for the 9 of Hearts. I pulled the 9 of Hearts card, and that prompt was warm toned. So the next one, this isn't actually in the order that I drew the cards. I'm not going to go back and rewatch the video to find out what order I drew the cards in. This is just the order that I wrote it down. So the next card we're going to talk about that I drew was the Queen of Spades. So that was a pick your own in the suite. It has to be in that suite. The one that I chose for that card was Three's a Crowd. And I picked my Natasha Denona My Dream Cheek palette for this prompt. Look at this. Do you see this nonsense? This highlighter keeps falling out. Oh my goodness. I'm not exactly sure how to glue it back in there. Stay. Okay. So I used this palette. I pulled it in for how many uses? For 12 uses. That was a lot of uses, I have to admit, but I did use it 12 times. On 12 separate occasions. I used this one here. I used this 6 times, this 5 times, and this 6 times. This one was also a little bit of a struggle because I had some other blushes I was working on, both in this project, which was unwise, but we'll talk about that in a minute, and in my color pan project. So I had to be very creative. And in order to do that, I actually ended up using a couple blushes at a time, which is it's not new for me. I don't always do that, but I have done that several times in the past, where I like to put a deeper blush up here and then a little pop of color on the front of the cheek, and that is what I ended up doing. because my next one was the 10 of clubs, and that prompt was multi-purpose. And for that, I pulled the Stila Lip and Cheek Stick in Sheer Lilium, and I'm wearing that on the front of my cheeks here today. It was really nice for that purpose. I do feel like for me, this is more of a summertime, quick makeup out the door type of cheek, but I did enjoy it paired together with the Natasha Denona blush. I rolled that in for 10 uses, so I'm going for the number of uses. The number of the face card is the number of uses, and I actually used that 11 times. I did not like it a ton on the lips. It's a little concealery for me, but it was nice on the cheeks, especially paired with that Natasha Denona palette. Next, I had two eyeshadow palettes. Now this was foolish. I pulled in 2 blushes and 2 eyeshadow palettes. Rookie mistakes. Okay, so for the eyeshadow palettes I pulled in, I drew the 4 of hearts, and that prompt was cities, something inspired by a city or with a city in the name. And for that, I chose the BH Cosmetics Passion and in Paris palette, which looks like this. I had a lot of fun with this palette. It was a little challenging, and I did realize that I have a little bit, when I have more than one blue in a palette, they kind of blind me a little bit, and I have trouble seeing past the blues to see the real possibilities of the palette, because I don't wear blue that often. I don't love it on me, and I am actually considering maybe depotting these blues and putting them in a magnetic palette, just so I can get more use out of the rest of it. Because as soon as I cover up these blues, as soon as I cover up these blues that are they're right in the middle of the palette, so it's kind of hard to see. I see so many other looks that I could get that don't involve those blues. I think I might get more use out of this palette if I do that. So I will let you know if I eventually end up depotting those particular shades. They're beautiful shades. And if I want a blue look, the formula is incredible on everything in that palette. I was not disappointed with anything at all ever, but they'd be great ones to reach for if I wanted a blue look. They're just kind of, I don't know, I get tunnel vision when there are that many blues in a palette. Oh, I should tell you how many uses I got on this. So despite the fact that I did struggle a little bit with these blues, okay, I actually used this. I brought it in for 4 uses, and I actually used it 8 times. So I used it for twice the number of times that I needed to for this project. So there is that. I'm going to tell you how many times I used each shade. Let me see if I can get this right. I've got a little diagram here. I used this one twice. This one's twice. I didn't use this at all. I used this shade twice. I used this shade once. This shade 5 times. This is an incredible black shade, but you have to be very careful with it because it will take over a look if you're not careful. I used this shade once. I used this shade once. This one twice, this one 3 times, this one once. This one is a gorgeous shade, this one right here. And this one was probably, I think, the black one, and this one, I used this one 4 times. And I think these two were probably the most versatile shades in the whole palette. And I ended up pulling them into other looks just on their own, particularly when I was using this palette here. So this is the next palette. This was for the 10 of Diamonds. The prompt was Peach Fuzz, and I pulled the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. And I'm actually wearing this today as just a very light, one color in the crease, one color on the lid type of look, which I feel like is the best way to use this palette. Now that's not the way I usually do my makeup. I usually like layering many shades. I like a lot of color complexity, a lot of depth in general, but I was going for something quick and light, and this is the palette to do that sort of thing, because I feel like once you introduce too many colors into an eye look with this palette, everything starts to blend together and get a little muddy. The colors are not super vivid, and they don't maintain their integrity when blended with each other. So I ended up using this. I brought this in for 10 uses and I used it 11 times, including today. Let's see, how many times did I use everything? I used this one 6 times. That's this one here. It's a great brow bone shade, is this one right here. I used this one. Okay, I used everything in here at least once. I'm just going to tell you the ones I used more than once. So this one I used 6 times. I used this one twice. I used this one 5 times. I used this one 4 times. I used, let's see, this one 3 times, this one twice, and this one here twice. And all of the other ones I used once each. So I feel like I really put this palette through its paces in a way that I don't know. I mean, I'd used it a fair bit before putting in this project, but those uses were spread out over a fair period of time, and I wasn't really evaluating the palette intensively, trying to figure out how this palette, this formula wants to be used. And while I do feel like I figured out the way this palette wants to be used, and it did a great job with the eye look I'm wearing today, again, it's not the way that I prefer to do my makeup, generally speaking. So while I did enjoy the looks that I got out of this, and I enjoy the look I'm wearing now, and I do feel like I have this figured out. And honestly, there's a lot of shades in here that I really love. Like this one here, Bellini, it is such a unique shade. It's not a duochrome. It is just a really interesting blend of both peach and purple that I have not seen anywhere. I don't have a shade like this anywhere else in my collection. And it's kind of like the amaretto shade from the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette, which is also a really, really interesting combination of colors. And I love it. I love it. And to be perfectly honest, I love a lot of these individual shades. It's just when they all come together that I struggle a little bit. And because of that, I do think I will end up passing this on to a friend who's going to appreciate it more for its particular strengths than I am, if that makes sense. So those are all of my products. Those are all 6 of my products. Oh wait, there's one I've forgotten. I have forgotten to talk about this one. This was probably the most surprising one of the whole bunch, and that is the card I drew was, sorry, I'm trying to look around my mic here. The card I drew was the 7 of Hearts, and the prompt for that was something you wish you returned. And that is my Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation. Not only, okay, I've told this story enough times. You want to hear why I hate this? The smell. If you want to hear why I have 2 of them, you can watch my intro video or my foundation inventory video. I go on at length. But listen, the fragrance is intense. However, I did find that I really enjoyed it mixed with other foundations. In particular, the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Foundation that I'm working through for my turn and burn right now. The combination of those 2 is what I'm wearing right now, and I really enjoy that. I'm going to have to give it a try with some of my other more matte foundations, because I just feel like it does the job of my Purito BB creams or like my Misha BB cream, where it just sort of loosens up the matteness of the matte velvet and gives it a little bit more life. And the fact that I'm mixing it in with another foundation, the smell isn't quite as strong. So I brought these into the project fully expecting that I would get 7 uses and then declutter these. But I haven't ended up enjoying these so much. I think I'm going to keep them. I think I'm going to keep them in and try to use them up. So that was really very surprising. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to do that, because I just don't know if I would have had I not put them into this project. So that was a very pleasant surprise. Those are all of, wait a second. Did I tell you how many times I used it? I brought it in for 7 uses, obviously, and I used it 9 times, including today. And I totally could have used it more times had I kept it out on my vanity. Um, anyway, that was a really neat, pleasant surprise. I'm really glad I put them in this project, and I will continue to use and enjoy them. Okay, so that was all the products I drew last month. I am going to cut in here with a little, what's it called? A screen cap. I'll do screen cap. I draw my cards on a website. I think it's called Lost Card. Anyway, I'll tell you what it is. I can't remember the URL right now, but I'm going to cut in with a screen cap of me pulling my cards, and then we will talk about the prompts. Okay, this is missingdice.com. I'm going to pick the Black Joker, make sure that's shuffled in, and we're going to pick the first card, which is the Ace of Hearts. That seems very familiar. Ace of Hearts, Ace of Hearts. Didn't I have that last time? I will go back and check in a minute. First, we're going to draw all 5 cards, and then we'll check the game board. 5 of spades. 5 of spades. 6 of diamonds. Ace of clubs. Ace of clubs. Isn't that the get out of jail free card? 8 of clubs. And, okay, that's 5. As I'm sure you saw, I pulled the Ace of clubs out again. I pulled that last time. It is a get out of jail free card. Do I get to just accumulate these as I pull them? Do I just get to accumulate these and hang on to them for the rest of the year? Is that how we're doing this? I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I'm just going to assume so, okay? So I have 2 vetoes now. Woohoo! Oh, I have to draw another card for that one. Okay, well, I'll do that in a second. Let's talk about the other prompts. So I also pulled the Ace of Hearts, which is... Oh, shoot. I also pulled this one last time. That's the pick up 2 card. So I have to go back and draw 3 cards, 3 additional cards. 1 to replace the get out of jail free card, 1 to replace the Ace of Hearts, and 1 additional card, so that I end up with 6 total products again. So I end up with 6 total products this month, as well as last month. All right. So the 5 of spades, that is 5 of spades. That's a primer. Okay, that's cool. That's interesting. For the 6 of diamonds, that's something in pretty packaging. Gosh, that could be a lot of things. That could be a lot of things. Okay. The next one was the Ace of clubs, which was the get out of jail free card. And then the 8 of clubs. 8 of clubs. 8 of clubs. Something dual-ended or a duo. Interesting. Okay. We need to go back and draw 3 more cards. Okay, the last one I picked was the Ace of clubs. So now we have the Queen of Hearts, 7 of spades, 10 of spades. Okay, the 3 cards that I pulled were the Queen of Hearts, which is a pick your space within the suite. So in that suite, I think I'm going to go for Oh, the Shame. Something that you haven't used yet. Something that somehow has not been used on your face yet. Yeah, I'm going to go for that one. Oh, the Shame. And then I drew the 7 of spades. 7 of spades. Something that's sentimental. There are a few possibilities for that. Okay. And then the 10 of spades. And that is something that is seasonal. Something seasonal. I don't know if my makeup is super seasonal. I feel like the style of my makeup can be seasonal sometimes. I feel like during the summer I tend to wear more lightweight, easy makeup. Simply because it's a lot easier. I have oily skin, and it's a lot easier to repair light easy makeup, you know, very lightweight makeup on the skin. And also, it's less suffocating on my face on a hot day where my oil production is in overdrive and I'm sweaty. I don't want a full base, you know? But aside from that, I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I could pick a light coverage. Okay, I will think about this. I'm gonna go pick my products and we'll see what I end up with. Okay, I have chosen my products. I am very excited. Okay, I learned from my mistakes last month. Even though I got all my uses on everything and more than my uses on some things, it was a little bit of a struggle, and there were some days, my drawer, how long has that been open? There were some days where I wanted to use other things, but I felt like, oh no, I've got to use my project stuff. So to avoid that, because I really do like to just have fun with my makeup on a daily basis, I tried not to make sure I didn't have any doubles in any categories. So let's see, for primer, I actually decided to go with an eye primer. This is the Sephora Colorful Shadow and Liner Stick. I use this as a liner. As a primer, as an eye primer. But the funny thing, I haven't used it that much. I've used it enough to get it down to where it needs to be sharpened, but I have not yet sharpened it once. So this will be the first sharpen for me, and yeah, that'll be nice to get some use out of that. I have liked it in the past, but yeah, I'd like to get more use out of that. That is for the 5 of spades. For the 6 of hearts, the prompt for that is something in pretty packaging. And for this one, I chose this. This is my It Girl beauty book by It Cosmetics. This is just the cutest little, they were coming out with these for the holidays for a few years there, but I don't think that they did last holiday season. And maybe not even the year before that. But this is isn't this just the cutest little thing ever? And like the little fireworks on the front. It's just adorable. Also, I have gotten a fair amount of use out of this palette. But I wouldn't mind getting some more because there's just a lot of products in here. So I completely panned the setting powder here, and then I crushed it up and transferred it to another container. I have panned the medium tan shade of the Bye Bye Under Eye, but there's still more product in here that I could definitely make use of. There's a bronzer. There is a blush / highlighter. There's some lip products. There's a cream highlighter. There are shadows, a little black powder liner. There's plenty of stuff for me to pick from. So yeah, I'm excited to get more uses on this. Oh, I forgot to tell you. For the primer is coming in because that was the 5 of spades. This is coming in for 5 uses. Although I have a suspicion I might use it a little bit more than that. Then for the 6 of diamonds, this is coming in for 6 uses. The next prompt was 8 of clubs. And that is something that's double-ended or a duo. And I chose my Stila liquid eyeliner here. This is, what is it called? Stale Day Dual-Ended Liquid Eyeliner. So this is kind of interesting because I figured because this is a dual-ended that I basically am getting half the amount of black liner that I normally get in just a full black eyeliner. But I looked at my other liquid eyeliners, and like for instance, the Physicians Formula, I have the Physicians Formula Eye Booster liquid liner. I have one in brown and one in black. This one's 1/2 ml. The whole thing, 1/2 ml. So I'm getting twice as much product in here. I probably won't use this end as well. Okay, I know for sure I'm not going to use this end nearly as much as I'm going to use this end here. So I'm getting 1/2 ml here of black liner here, 1/2 ml of liner here. I've got an Ico liquid liner here that's got 0.4 mils, so even less than 1/2 ml. The only other liquid liner I have that has a whole mil in it is the Pat McGrath. It's a whole mil here, which is actually kind of nice because this is very expensive. Very expensive. I did buy it at TJ Maxx, so it was not very expensive for me, but that makes it even better that I'm getting twice the amount of liquid liner in it that I am in my other liquid liners. So that's cool. So just because I probably won't use this half as much as I use this half, I'm still getting as much black liner out of this one as I would out of my other liners. So good to know. So that is coming in for, let's see, for 8 uses. Shouldn't be a problem. Let's see. The next one that I pulled was the Queen of Hearts, and that is a pick your own in the same suite, and I chose Oh the Shame for a product that I have not used yet. And I actually only think there's only a couple of those in my collection. This palette here. This is the Cali Contour palette by Smashbox. It's a bronzer and contour palette. And yeah, I have swatched this. I got it in a Black Friday sale last year. I have swatched it, but it has yet to have its debut on my face. So that'll be fun. That is coming in for 12 uses. And then the next one was the 7 of Spades, which was something that is sentimental. I had a few possibilities here, but there's one in particular I really want to bust out again. I really, really want to use this again. And this is my Pat McGrath Sunlit Seduction. This is her most recent launch. Everybody hated it. Not everybody. I really, really enjoyed it. I wasn't going to buy it simply because I have a lot of similar colors from Pat McGrath and because it's stupid expensive. But my husband, unbeknownst to me, shortly after release went and bought it for me, knowing how much I love Pat McGrath. Now, part of me just, it pains me so much that he paid full price. Especially knowing how often she runs 30% off sales. But, how sweet is that? I can't get over it. It was such just a thoughtful, kind, and I have to be honest, this is me in a palette, is it not? Like, I mean, if you've seen my eyeshadow palettes inventory videos, you know that this is me in a palette. This is probably going to be the first Pat McGrath palette that I actually pan. And so we're going to make an attempt towards that. I am bringing it in for 7 uses, but to be perfectly honest, I'll probably use it more than that. I'm not going to, with the Passion in Paris and the Sweet Peach, I really made an effort to thoroughly use those palettes. Like, I tried to use them not just as companion palettes to other palettes I was using, but like to really get some looks out of the peach palette, Sweet Peach palette, to really get some looks primarily out of the Passion in Paris palette, because those were 2 palettes that I feel like needed some more comprehensive use for me to really know my feelings about them. You know what I'm saying? I already know my feelings about this. I have used every shade in here, and I'm just gonna have fun with this one. I'm gonna pull a shimmer from it and call that a use. I'm going to use a transition shade and call that a use, or I'm gonna do a whole look from this and call it a use. You know, I'm just going to enjoy this palette because I really do love it, and just have fun with it. The last one was the 10 of Spades, and that was something seasonal. And I chose my Milani Make It Last Dewy Setting Spray. A dewy setting spray, there are very few of these remaining in my collection. Actually, I think this is the last one. And this is the season to use it for sure. Wintertime, I am significantly more, I experience a lot more dryness in the wintertime than I do in the summertime. I am not using this in the summer because my skin's going to do this all by itself for me. So there's actually not a whole lot left in this bottle. So I'm going to see if I can get through whatever is left in here. I'm going to pull it in for 10 uses, but I'm going to actually try to finish it up because there's hardly any left in here. And if there is a season to wear it for me, it is right now, because I ain't using this in the summertime. That's ridiculous. I'm actually really excited about this. This is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, that went so much more smoothly. I did have to draw cards twice, but that went so much more smoothly than it did last time. So if you had gotten these prompts, what would you have chosen from your collection? Inquiring minds want to know. Thanks so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.